All right, welcome to Current Affairs Taiwan. This is Michael Turton, and I'm Donovan Smith.
We're happy to be here again, and with the news that we're a week away from microphones now.
Yes, a week or two, yeah. They're on their way from the United States, microphones, audio interface, and that's when we'll be able to hopefully kick off the podcast.
After that, we're going to go for facelifts.
Yes. Have our stomach stapled.
Have that neck tucked.
Yeah.
And we'll really be ready for the big time. All right, what's on the plate for today here?
All right, what do we got here? All right.
In the KMT, they finally have a candidate.
They do today, and they had the bowling balls, and which of course means that I guess they're looking for a strike. They picked the bowling balls, man. Blue bowling balls was their big theme, I saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
Blue balls.
Blue balls.
Okay.
Blue KMT balls held by a stage. It was a sea full of men, and looking like a little elf was Hung Hsiu-chu.
Oh, I'm pining for her. Don't mention her name.
She was so much fun. But yeah, she was up there on the stage, and it was the usual slate of suspects. ing-wen was very prominent, I saw.
Wang Jinping was there.
Wang Jinping was there. And who was not there?
Guo Timing, Terry Guo.
That's right.
Is he still in Japan?
I don't know. He's been keeping a very low profile. My theory is he's waiting for Matsu to tell him she was just kidding. I don't know. I guess he's waiting for guidance from Matsu. So
maybe he'll have to change.
Well, I mean, you can't exactly come out and say now, well, Matsu told me, just kidding. What's he going to say? He's going to be asked about it.
For sure. I'm interested to hear his answer.
Yes.
Matsu was teaching me humility or something.
Yeah, that would be a good one, actually. That's a good one. Yeah.
So if he doesn't run for president, is he disobeying Matsu?
Good question.
I mean, he So anyway, Han Kuo-yu is now the KMT's formally and officially selected candidate.
Yep. All right.
And he was saying he wanted a vice president with economic and diplomatic experience.
Yeah, which leaves Wen-je.
Who's got diplomatic experience? The natural would be Jason Hu, but his health.
Yeah, his health is Han Kuo-yu, I could easily see, picking somebody unexpected. That would be what he would want. But Wen-je, I think, is going to try and steer him to something a little bit more in the party. Would be my
what
guess.
If he picks ing-wen? Do you think he's got that kind of imagination?
It would actually be a good pick.
It would be a really good pick.
It'd be a very clever pick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure ing-wen would go for that.
No.
Gou Timing, Terry Gou would be a good choice. But I don't think he'll go for it.
Yeah, a unity ticket.
A unity ticket would be good for them.
Then he can say, I thought Matsu said president, but I didn't hear the vice.
Yeah, I know.
It wasn't clear.
I thought the foo was fortune, but no, it turned out it was vice,
Anyway.
So anyway.
So the KMT has begged him to return.
Yeah.
Which implies that he's not in at the moment.
No.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
He didn't show up for the event. He's been keeping out of the news. I haven't seen him appearing anywhere.
Yeah, just one or two articles.
Very, very low key. I mean, the last we heard he was in Japan, but is he still there? I don't know.
Oh well, so I hear Tsai has a bit of a smuggling problem this week.
Well, she was sneaking a smoke or two.
Yeah. 9,800 packs, was it, or something?
Well, 10,000. They upped it up to 10,000 cartons.
Cartons. I meant cartons.
But then they found out that it's been going on since, was it 2014?
Something like that.
And it's like 300,000 cartons over the years, involving people at China Airlines and the NSB. And
it's a problem. Well, the News Lens had a nice piece today saying, look, this is the problem with the bureaucracy. This is not Tsai or ing-wen. This is the entrenched bureaucracy that the president cannot get rid of. It's one of Taiwan's biggest problems.
Well, she can. It's difficult.
But it's difficult. It's really difficult to fire a bureaucrat.
Yeah. But you can demote them and move them.
Right.
In other words, you can take away their power.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's things that she can do, and already there's been, at least one resignation.
Right.
Some people have been fired. There's going to be criminal charges against a bunch of people. But, what I find a little bit alarming is these are the people who are supposed to be keeping us safe. They're the ones who are supposed to capture spies from China, but instead they're running a whole side scam. They're trying to keep the president safe and smuggle cigarettes at the same time.
We're laughing, but it's not funny.
No, it isn't.
It's really not funny. Yeah.
And China Airlines, of course, is supposed to try and keep us in flight, which they've actually done. In the 90s, they were alarming, but they've been pretty good since. I think.
I think they won a management award a few years ago for one of the best run airlines.
Yeah, they've actually been doing a pretty good job.
They turned it around there.
Yeah.
So, in lighter news this week, last week, Ku Guanming formed the Formosa Alliance of the independence people, the older ones who don't like Tsai Ing-wen.
Yep.
You might recall, actually, that it's not just that she doesn't have the dangling male organ thing.
Right.
When she first ran for party chairman, Gu was her opponent. Mm-hmm. So there's this personal thing going on as well.
Yeah, and he had all his comments about people in skirts shouldn't be running the party and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So that was, he's not exactly.
So after the Formosa Alliance, we now have Tan Sui-bian is now going to form a party as well to split the crazy vote.
Well, they said that it wasn't actually. He's not actually in the party. He can't do political activities.
Right, he can just form parties.
No, he's their spiritual inspiration. I forget the exact words, but it's something along these lines. He's their spiritual guide, or like Li Denghui with the TSU.
Right.
So basically, this is like, as far as I can tell, this is like the TSU version 4 or something like this, or version 5.
It's something. Well, the TSU is a mixed bag. I mean, there's different kinds of people there, but these are going to be Greens, way out there Greens. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, I mean, independence parties. We got the TSU, and then we got the Taiwan Alliance.
Right.
Formosa Alliance. Sorry, we got this new one. One country on each side of this. It's equal. Yeah, I forget what the English.
That's their slogan.
Yeah. It's the name of the party, I think, too.
Right.
Then we got those three, and then there was the Free Taiwan Party.
Oh God.
With a sort of bird symbol.
Right.
And then there's that party. I think they're calling it the Taiwan State Building Party now. The one that keeps changing its name out of Kaohsiung.
I think
those are younger. That's a younger crew.
Really?
Yeah, they're the radical, the flunk radical. Then they were they keep changing their English name.
But I got a photo of those guys at
or something.
I got a photo of them at the train station.
They're sunflower related.
Oh, they're sunflower related.
Yeah, they're sunflower related. And then, of course, there's the NPP, which I don't think actually has independence as a formal. I don't think it's in their platform.
I don't think it needs to be.
I don't think it needs to be. Yeah, I think that was kind of the idea.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to have a great effect on the election, but it's a moment of humor.
Yes. Oh, but speaking of the Taiwan State Building Party, the Kaohsiung people, their spokesman is running against ing-wen Hung here in Taichung, and this is the son of Yan Qingbiao. And so this party is running their spokesman, the Taiwan State Building Party. Their spokesman is running against ing-wen Hung here in Taichung, and apparently the DPP is not going to run a candidate. Is what they're talking about. I don't think it's formal, but there's talk right now that the DPP will stand down in that district to let this guy run.
That would be awesome.
I don't know, because the DPP almost beat Yin once before in the by-election. They did a pretty good job. And then in the 2016, when the DPP crushed everybody, they actually did worse.
In the legislature.
Yeah. One of those two was a three-way.
It was a 2-1 win, as I recall.
And it wasn't that bad, but it was a pretty significant one. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good news. So And still keeping quiet is Wen-je, the mayor of Taipei. Is he going to be a candidate or not? Only he knows.
But he set a deadline.
What's the deadline?
Depending on the report, either the beginning of September or September 1st.
Right, and the paperwork has to be done by?
The 17th of September. So he needs time to, as he stated, he said, look, I need to make the decision by then so that I can collect all the signatures that we need and submit the paperwork by, I believe the paperwork's the 17th, and I think there's a few more days for the signatures, but yeah, something like that. Yeah. So now we know it's the beginning of September. We're going to find out basically, and that pretty much includes Gou, I think. He has a similar timeline.
Yeah, Terry Gou has to file by the 17th.
Yeah,
and it's going to be harder for him to get signatures.
And Wang Jinping if he's going to run as an independent too.
That would be interesting.
So we're going to see a big shakeout in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Matsu, please talk to Gou. Okay. Again.
And Buddha, please talk to Wang Jinping.
Where's the nearest Matsu temple? I'm going to go down and make a sacrifice.
Well, there's a big one in Dacia down there.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah. They're very influential.
I'm sure I would welcome my presence there. So some new polls out this week. This one is from the Taiwan Public Opinion Foundation, which you might recall is run by a guy who also ran for DPP chairman and lost. And has a chip on his shoulder and really does not like Tsai Ing-wen.
What is it with pollsters and... Wasn't Ding Shou-jung a pollster too?
He was the guy who set up the KMT polling, the first KMT polling apparatus facility, way back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then he also was the Gallup poll, except then Gallup withdrew all recognition from him, so he would say that he was the Gallup poll, but I think he changed the Chinese characters, so they sounded like the old ones, but they were not the same characters.
Yeah, like Giddy Up.
Yeah, exactly.
Giddy Up polling company. So it's always good to know that the people who head up polling companies also are politicians. So, it's all going to be, on the up and fair.
So, even in this poll, they have Tsai up over Han Kuo-yu. If it's a two-way race, Tsai's up by about 5 points. But if anyone else enters, then everything becomes wonky.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
A lot of it's going to... There was another poll I was having breakfast today, and San Lee from Moza TV was sending around the poll, and I just caught the tail end of it. And one of the things that struck me was housewives. They had Jia Ting Zhu up there. And it was, 49 to 38 or something for Han.
Right.
For Han.
Probably they're that demographic, 45 to 65.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of those older women.
Yeah.
That's the demographic that supports him.
Yeah.
So, is there any poll where he's got more than 40% of the people who are going to vote?
In the primary.
In the primary.
Yeah, in the primary.
In the KMT primary. Yeah. Okay.
But pretty much outside of that, he's been pretty much maxed out at the low 30s. Yeah. For the most part. Low
30s or anywhere, somewhere below 40. He's not.
Yeah.
This poll, he actually reached 40. But it's not a poll of likely voters.
Oh. Okay.
It's just a poll. Yeah. Compared to Tsai's lead over Han has decreased, but then who knows?
Now keep in mind, in the last election between Song Zu-yu, James Song, and Eric Chu, Zhu Liluan, the two of them, the pan-blue candidates, got 43%, I think it was 42,
together,
43 together in the last election.
Right.
So, and Han Kuo-yu, I don't know if he appeals to, Song Zu-yu, James Song's support base, I don't know, they might go for Han.
They'll switch to Han.
Yeah, they'll switch to Han.
I don't see why they would.
I could actually see a lot of Eric Chu's supporters being kind of iffy on Han. Yeah. Eric Chu's kind of a, sensible mainstream sort of KMT guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He wouldn't be a bad pick for vice president.
No, he wouldn't be a bad pick.
No. And though there was some humor here too, Wen-je, the China Times put out a poll saying that Wen-je's approval would jump if he went into the race, and Ko said, they're just trying to lure me in with this poll. They're trying to find zone by the Want group, which loves Han Kuo-yu and hates Guo Taiming, Terry Guo. So then Zhu Lira and Eric Zhu said that the KMT would be doomed if Terry Guo ran.
Yeah.
And Ko responded to this. He was asked to respond, and he said, well, it's okay if the KMT is doomed as long as Taiwan is not doomed. That's the key point there. So speaking of doom, how about our economy?
It's doing all right.
It's not doomed.
It's not doomed. No. Most of the GDP forecasts are at about 2% for the year, plus or minus a little bit, which is not bad.
It's okay.
It's okay. But personal incomes are going up faster than they have for a while.
That's good news.
That's good news. Not enough so that everybody feels it, though. It's not like the 80s.
And before the show, we were talking about, I mentioned, hey, Donovan, check this out. Consumer confidence is up. Mm-hmm. And Donovan said,
if you notice in Taiwan, consumer confidence numbers, and this was a slightly different one, but it was a similar sort of thing. It was, but if you actually look, since they created it, which was like 99, 2000, 2001, something like that, is when they actually set up and they based it on the U.S. one out of Michigan. And essentially, if there's a number in your consumer confidence, it's 100 or higher, that indicates confidence in the economy. And now the aggregate number, because there's different categories of stocks, and and then anything under 100 is considered a negative, negative consumer confidence. Never once has the aggregate number for I think there's 5 different categories. Never once has that number passed 100.
Our consumers are pessimists.
Or they're comparing it to the boom days.
The boom days, yeah. The older Taiwanese were spoiled by 8% growth. We're never going to see that again. And everyone thinks that if Han Kuo-yu is magically elected, so many people, you hear this, and you read on Facebook, people will say, well, Han's already done great things for Kaohsiung, and you ask for a list, and you get, fixing potholes.
Climbed a tree.
Yeah, climbed a tree this week.
Climbed a tree this week, yeah.
So the other thing this week, actually Tsai Ing-wen sent this around on her Twitter, was that there's been something like close to NT 500 billion worth of businesses pledging to return to Taiwan.
Yeah, 98 companies, so it's just about 100 companies and just about 500 billion NT dollars in pledged. Now, not all of this is going to materialize.
Right, of course. Pledges usually don't.
Probably the bulk of the companies will actually return if they can find good land.
Yeah, the land problem is serious.
Land and employment, those are the two big employees.
Serious issues here.
If they can solve that, and the government is working on, they just passed a new bill recently, which makes it easier for land to have dual use, I believe. It's so that the zoning, that was about 2-3 weeks ago, which they set up a mechanism basically whereby the existing factories that are on land zoned for agriculture can stay there for a fair bit longer. So
now, bear in mind that you might think that these factories on land for agriculture are like tiny little shops that are like basically legal and kind of flimsy, but no. A lot of them are big companies listed on the stock market with huge foreign sales.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a small problem. This is an endemic structural problem of Taiwan's land policy.
Yep, and the bulk of them are right here in central Taiwan.
Yeah.
Taichung has the most. I believe it's something like 38,000 nationally, 17 of which are here in Taichung alone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so you've all been following the Hong Kong protests.
Yep.
I'm sure you've heard about them, and a lot of people out there saying, hey, look, Hong Kong's going to guarantee Tai's going to win. And all of us sitting here in Taiwan are going, no. So there was a nice article by Lev Nachman, who's a wonderful scholar and very interesting man. I hope sometime you have a chance to meet him. And Brian from New Bloom.
Yep.
Out in the Diplomat, I think it was, right?
Yep.
Saying that, well, no, wait a second, everybody out of the pool. This is not going to happen that way.
Right.
Domestic issues are way more important. And the content of the campaign is going to be way more important. And of course, if Guo Taiming enters the election or Wen-je enters the election, it's going to have a much bigger effect than Hong Kong.
Yes.
So Hong Kong's nice, and we thank the PRC for giving us this gift. But
it's like I've read some articles, and sort of they wrote this article as a reaction against these articles, which basically were like, because of what's going on in Hong Kong, that means that Taiwan is guaranteed to win. And then they kind of poured cold water on it. I think they went a little bit too far. I actually do think that Hong Kong is a factor. I don't think it's not the decisive one.
No, it's not
But
decisive.
national sovereignty issues have, I think, traditionally been a big factor in the presidential elections here.
Right.
Li Denghui standing up to China, I think that really got him the landslide in '96.
Chen Shui-bian's hands around Taiwan thing, remember
Yeah.
that? That was huge, mobilizing people.
Yeah.
But it's different now. It seems like that was, the dawn of our youth. And now we're moving into our cynical old age here. No one's going to be impressed by holding hands around Taiwan.
Yeah.
But if this Hong Kong thing goes on and worse things happen, like, God forbid, the PLA coming in and shooting people, that would have a huge effect.
Huge. Massive.
But the protests themselves, what's going on now,
I think it's a few percentage points for Tsai.
it's going to be helpful.
It's going to be helpful
But
for
not
Tsai.
decisive.
Yeah, but
If it's a close election.
yeah, it'll be decisive if it's a very, very close election.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to help Wen-je and it's not going to help Han Kuo-yu.
No. And it's not going to
That's going to hurt both of them.
Yeah.
It will help Taiwan a little bit, but how much really depends on how it plays out. The thing is that the protests may have died down by next January and they'll be largely forgotten.
Right. That could very well
Or
happen.
the PLA is marched in. And there's
Bodies everywhere.
Yeah. So at this point, it's too early to say. It's potentially a big deal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's see. And transitional justice.
Yes.
The NSB files the National Security Bureau files are going to be released on several important cases, including
Lin Yixiong
and
Chen Wen-san.
Lin Yixiong. Chen Wen-san was the Carnegie Mellon professor who returned to Taiwan
Yeah,
and committed suicide.
yeah, he decided to take flying lessons out of the window of a building.
Yeah. And then Lin Yixiong, that case, very sad.
Yeah, family was murdered. His wife, kids.
Mother, right?
I think so too. Yeah,
it was
I think
very,
one of
very
I think
sad.
one of his kids survived.
Yeah, she's married to Judy Lin, and she's married to, and now I've blanked his name. Never mind. Anyway.
Okay.
she's married to someone that I interact
to blank. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. Then they tried to pin it on a foreigner for a little while.
Yeah, that was
there.
Bruce Jacobs, who was the bearded man. He wrote about that in one of his books.
Yeah, I talked to him on ICRT.
The bearded man, the bearded foreigner.
Yes, the bearded foreigner. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so I mean that's a big deal. Now here's something that's interesting. Is a couple of months ago, I mentioned this before on the show. They said they were going to start moving into things like name issues and that stuff in a month, and that was like 2-3 months ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was sitting there thinking, oh, that's a bad idea.
We
before
both
the
said
election.
that. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Exactly. So and so now all of a sudden they're focusing on justice for these families, and I think that's a much more popular tack. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Tsai or somebody higher up in the party said, you might want to tamp on the brakes a little bit on, I'm like, but they may get to the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial before the election. But I think if either Tsai or some of her political minders maybe. It probably, if I had to guess, they've said, look, shift your focus. There's lots of things to do. Shift them to the things that's not going to cause everybody to have a meltdown.
Right.
And then we can deal with all that in a second term.
Yeah. That would be so much better if that took place after she got elected.
Yeah, I think that would be. Yeah.
Well, I think we've reached the end of our show today.
Yeah, just under 30 minutes.
So, hey, wait, does this body like make me look pudgy? Oh no, sorry.
I know, at least in my case, my body is pudgy, so, you know.
It's been wonderful having you, and we'll see you next week with more bad jokes and slightly more professional presentation.
And hopefully sound. Hopefully podcasts.
Hopefully.
The equipment's coming on August 3rd. We might not see it for 2 weeks, though.
Okay.
We might not have it in hand, but it's coming over from the U.S.
All right.
All right.
Thank you very much.